Hello everyone, and welcome back to Dungeons & Dragons The Second Age. How are we all doing?
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah. Good. We are Dragon Slayers now.
You are Dragon Slayers. You are officially Dragon Slayers.
God, I remember working so hard to do that back in the days of Adventure Quest, and I never did it, and now here I am,
Yeah.
a Dragon Slayer. Where's my cool ass armor?
Well, that'll have to be something that you think about what to do with your spoils.
True.
So, speaking of which, does somebody want to recap very briefly what happened the last time we played this game?
Well, we started off with where we left off, which was Lithari going off to prank the elite Elven Guard,
Yes.
while Elizabeth sat using Scarlet senses on a rooftop while Arya had just woken up, which honestly went surprisingly smoothly.
Yeah.
I think it was mostly just because Arya rolled shit on a perception check and I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah. Every perception check made in that entire scene was awful.
Yep. The guards didn't see Lithari even though she was dropping eggs behind them. Like, Arya didn't see Lithari disappear. Yeah, it was interesting. But then we were like...
like an age, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then the next morning, we were like, right, let's start planning to kill this dragon. And we did all of our last minute preparations. Elizabeth made a final call on which elemental to use. We stocked up on more healing potions, and we borrowed V's broom. And then off we went into the forest, where we found some of the dragon's sort of thralls, where they'd clearly been in this poison mist for fucking ages. And they were like, come see, our master wants to see you, you need to listen to the master, and all sorts of ravings of like, yeah, these guys have clearly been brainwashed in some way. So we followed the animals to this spooky sinkhole cavern cave thing, which turned out to be a tiny pocket of the Feywild. And then the dragon had like a big speech, but we couldn't interrupt his big speech because he wasn't there. Ferrous
Success!
Ferrous learning his lesson and not letting me smack the dragon. I resisted
Do not smack the dragon.
Yeah, I also resisted the urge to smack talk the dragon because Arya would have been mad at me.
Yes. And someone probably would have died.
Yep, and then the dragon appeared, and we fought the dragon. And we killed the dragon, and no one went down, and it was great.
Yes.
We did lose the griffin, though.
We did
You
lose
did.
the griffin, but...
Summoned the griffin, and then lost the griffin.
We lost the griffin.
That poor griffin. So
Arya
far, all
didn't
that's happened to
even
that
get
griffin
ride
is...
that griffin.
I know, Arya didn't get to ride the griffin.
I would have loved to ride the griffin. It would have been awesome.
Maybe I should have picked you up with the air elemental, and then you could...
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
Whee!
we missed out on the Fire Emblem crossover episode.
Yeah. We'll have
One
to do
day.
that another time.
But it's okay, because now I can just summon a whole army of wolves. So
But yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, exactly. And we got to the end of the session, and we've got enough experience to level up, so we're all 15th level now.
We all dinged.
You did indeed.
We
And
are.
you recovered a significant amount of treasure from the Dragon's Hall.
Yes.
Uh,
Buttloads, you might say.
So, I think our story sets off with a little bit of fast forwarding through time. After vanquishing the green dragon resident in the sinkhole in the middle of the forest, you set about preparing to gather up all of the treasure that was located within its so-called gilded prison and return it. Your preparations are made quite quickly, as the longer that you investigate this planar sinkhole that leads to a pocket dimension, you realise that with the passing of the dragon, the magic is beginning to weaken. And come a week or so, the plane will collapse in on itself and dissipate, returning back to the fabric of magic. So you very quickly sort of set about getting everything gathered and squared away. The evening of your success, you all gather in. You gather in the training hall of the Amber Eagles stronghold to announce to everyone what's going to happen. And as you're in the hall, you notice that Sudani has gone to a great deal of effort to decorate the hall in a variety of reds and golds, which you find somewhat unusual, as that's not the colours that you usually adorn the hall with. And once you finish telling everybody about the dragon, there's much murmuring and whispering, and Vondal comes out and sort of says, "I'm not sure how to top this announcement, but I do have another announcement. So, as some of you may be aware, we have a celebration to make." And there's sort of a little bit more whispering. Some people look a little surprised. Some people look like, "Oh yeah, I know about this." And Vondal calls to one of the mercenaries and says, "Ada, do you want to come up here?" One of the mercenaries, a half-elf, comes up. Sort of looks a little bit sheepish. A couple of people wolf whistle at him.
Wow.
And Vondal says, "So, as some of you may know, Adar has made a proposal." And a lot of people sort of cheer. Vondal sort of lets them have their moment and then quiets them down and says, "So, we'll be playing host to, I suppose, our first wedding." I've been making plans, and Ada has decided that we'll be doing this on the first day of the Festival of First Blossoms, as is the Elven tradition. Those of you who are elves, or have grown up in Elven society, are aware of the Festival of First Blossoms. It is essentially a Valentine's Day equivalent. It's considered the day of celebration for the first buds of winter emerging from ready for the spring. And it's generally seen as like a time for lovers and families. And Vondal sort of continues on and says, "Those of you who aren't aware, this is a tradition amongst Elven society, the one that's mirrored in a similar celebration celebrated by the locals around here, Lovers' Day." And sort of everyone's like, "Oh yeah, okay." He says, "I know we've all just had some big news, but this is big news for Adar and his wife-to-be as well, so please join me all in celebrating this event." He sort of finishes his announcement, turns to you, Grim, and says, "I hope you don't mind. I was going to bring it up before we had this whole dragon situation, but things are as they are.
We'll make it work.
I think it'll be a good morale booster. You know, everyone's feeling a bit rough about the whole dragon situation, and now that we've dealt with it, I think people are going to be quite happy, and I think this is an opportunity to sort of have everyone let their hair down after a very stressful time."
Well, you generally have a better feel for the keep than I do, being actually around most of the time.
Yeah, well, tensions have been high for quite some time. I guess we'll be celebrating 2 victories. I've taken the liberty of inviting some friends and guests along. I figured most of the population here is mainly humans, but I figured a few elves to make Adar and his bride-to-be feel at home wouldn't go amiss.
Oh, of course. Well, that should be for them to decide, but I'm sure they'll appreciate it.
He sort of nods and says, between the two of them, I don't think they have much family in the region, so I don't know if we'll be seeing much on that sort of side, but I figured it can't hurt.
Most definitely not. It's good. I was thinking, actually, like, considering we had a little time jump. See, I'm not sure what is and what hasn't been relayed. Because I assume it had been. We have already made clear that we wanted to like celebrate the dragon with the town. Or
I don't know that you've conveyed that to the town yet. You've definitely conveyed that to Vondal and the company.
Yeah.
I don't know that you've made a formal announcement yet. This is still like the first evening, but we'll jump ahead as
okay.
needed.
Okay. And how did we? What did we do with the dragon? We did manage to get it out, right?
Again, first evening, you haven't done anything with it yet.
Okay. So it's still lying in the.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you've got people out and sort of like beginning to pull stuff in, but yeah, getting the dragon out is going to be a task.
Okay. Because I feel like there is one thing that we're almost obligated to do once it's on, once we get it on the move, and that is ride it through town.
Why?
Well, to show people that like they're safe. The forest is safe again.
I mean, you can do it. You can ride it, sure.
Well, not like necessarily sit on it, ride it, but like just
I don't think we're gonna be sneaking a dragon into town. Like people are gonna see.
Oh no, don't worry. But like we should be there when we do. Otherwise, so how long till the day of bloom?
The first day of the festival of first blossoms.
Yes, that one.
You have about 3 or 4 days.
3 or 4 days.
Well then, what's the thing? Upon hearing the announcement, this was just gonna be like Bowser's going, "I'm so excited! I've only ever been to one wedding, and I was way too small to know anything about it."
Ah. Good. See, I feel like even though we have 2 things to celebrate, we should probably ask them if they want to do it separately or wanna join in on the day of the big festivities.
Oh, they probably want to do it separately. And besides, it's going to take us ages to figure out how to transport that dragon anyway. We can have the wedding first. Besides, we have stuff to worry about now because, if I remember correctly, last time you guys were at a wedding, you were horribly underdressed because you didn't have time. But now you do have time, so.
Well, there were more problems at that wedding, but I'm
Well,
sure this one will go smoother.
Well, yeah, we've got a whole mercenary company backing this up.
Okay.
But come on, guys, we need to be getting ready. Like, none of us have presentable outfits.
Well, you say that. We did actually get some nice outfits made a while back.
Did you?
Well, actually, you were there for. I think we even got like an additional set in. Not Renshire. Was it Renshire?
Rookskate.
Rookskate. Yeah.
But I don't think that would have been before. Because didn't we get that to go to that
Oh yeah, that was when you went to the
That was
not
the first time you went to Othel Manor.
Yeah.
As
ages
guests.
and ages and ages ago.
Well, I guess we could get a new set of clothes. Maybe slightly more festive.
Look, at the very least, I want to go buy some clothes. It's been a long time since I've had new clothes.
Guess go nuts.
Well, maybe don't say that, but
Yeah, I mean, do you really think I'd take his advice on clothes?
fair point.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Also-
sorry, carry on.
oh no, yeah, I was just kind of saying, yeah, I'm just still trying to figure out how we're gonna organize everything.
So as the evening stretches on, the first sort of team is sent out to go and start retrieving things from the forest, and you are pulled aside. Grim, sorry, is pulled aside by Vondal to be introduced to Adok and his fiance.
Ah, yes.
Adok is a half elf that has been basically one of your trained archers for a while. And as you are introduced to Nalea, who is his fiance, you actually recognise Nalea as well. Nalea is one of the travelling merchants that you've seen coming to and from Ivywood Market a couple of times. You previously met a jeweler, and she basically functions as his sort of opposite number in the jewelry business. She is the opposing competition.
I kind of missed that part because you cut out.
Oh, sorry. Nalea is basically the opposition to the business competition to the jeweler that you met previously.
Oh, okay.
You have likely seen her in the market or in at formal functions if you've attended any during the time in the town. Yeah, the two of them sort of Adok looks very sort of attentive and formal as he's beating you, and Nalea seems a little almost anxious, knowing that she's meeting her future husband's employer.
Well,
It's just
no,
like meeting the family.
you can't make it any more awkward than Grim can. So,
True.
Oh no.
This is gonna go great.
he'll. Well, I say he'll try to behave. He always tries. But,
Yeah. With Vondal to guide you, you navigate the social minefield of being introduced to the new couple.
Well, keep it relaxed.
Yeah. You ask them sort of what their plans are for the ceremony, and actually they are hoping for more of a sort of a the ceremony will be more private. The members of the Amber Eagle are invited if they wish, as Edic's colleagues. But sort of other than that, they sort of say, well, we'd like it to be a small affair. We're not sort of big on a huge party, but we'd love to celebrate with you as part of it.
I'm sure. I can make some time for that.
Yeah.
Any I guess I'm thinking real quick. So have you want to have you decided where exactly you want to have it? You want to have it in? I assume you don't want to have it in the keep.
Edic sort of says, no, we've arranged a venue.
Okay.
There's a small garden in the centre of town that is, well, it's where we first met, so we figured it would be the best place to do it.
Yes. Because as much as I like this place, it wouldn't make the best venue.
Nalea sort of chuckles and says, it would be a little formal, I think.
But yeah, well, I'll do what I can to make it there, and perhaps afterwards you can get a few days or a little more to celebrate. But we'll.
Yeah, Vondal sort of says, yeah, we've talked about arranging some leave for people after this whole thing is put to bed.
Good.
he sort of chuckles and says, surprisingly, these two aren't the only people who are looking to spend some time away from the keep.
Yeah, we should probably get a better way of cycling people. Yeah, get more time off. But fortunately, you, despite lacking time, you two have found enough to make a way together. So I'll be if there's anything you need help with, I'll just be sure to let me know, and I'll see if I can pull some strings.
They nod and thank you and say, thank you. It's Vondal has already offered to be the officiant, and we don't want to impose too much. But the offer is appreciated.
No. You never know when you need it, but the offer stands, and I guess that's basically all there's to it. Unless you had anything else you want to ask.
And sort of shake their heads, and Vondal also says, well, I think we've all had quite the day, so I think we'd best call it there.
Good. It has been a long day.
The couple leave, and Vondal sort of like leans into you and says, well, it's not every day you get to slay a dragon and it's not often you get to slay a dragon and announce a wedding in the same day.
Yeah. Well, perhaps slaying the dragon is good luck.
I suppose that's one way of thinking about it.
Ah, well. We'll see how things turn out. Should probably properly inform the town and start spreading the word of things being safe. Although, that said, I don't know how the animals will react now that their oppressor is gone.
Well, if I spoke with Bee a little bit about it, and she seemed to be under the impression that things should revert somewhat to normal, at least. It might take time. They've obviously been through a great change in environment, but it should return.
Oh, that's good.
I suppose it's like with any I hate to call it a leadership, but when tyrannical forms of governance tend to take over places, in my experience, people are very nervous and hesitant to start with, but they get back into things after a while.
I bet they do. Oh well. There is one small matter. I feel like I want to make sure that the people our people get to share in the victory. I'm thinking how I can't remember exactly how many people we have here.
We wrote it down somewhere, didn't we?
Well, we have 3 groups of 3 units. Like one light mercenaries, 1 medium, and 1 light archer. But like what that actually entails in numbers?
I don't remember. I think it's. I'll look it up precisely, but.
Well, otherwise we'll go by the number of beds that we have.
Well,
we were out.
Continue with your thought process, and I'll look it up exactly because I should have the things that I need here.
Because I thought like maybe we might, as a way of of boosting morale and all that stuff, and let them properly celebrate. If we just give them all a small bonus,
I think that sounds like a good idea.
Because we haven't. I don't think we've quite totaled the amount of gold found yet, but I'm pretty sure we can afford something nice.
I definitely think now is the time for positive reinforcement, if anything. What we've been through is... It's not something we go through every day, that's for sure.
Although, as much as I would like to keep on talking with you about it, I feel like we should probably just let the evening run its course, and then we'll get together tomorrow and figure things out with the group, because I'm sure they have ideas or plans. Or
Yes, I'm sure you're right. I mean, the thing that should come first, after all, is, well, the things that we need more immediately. But yes, as you say, that's a conversation for another day.
Because as much as I would like to keep on celebrating, don't have a whole lot of time to stick around.
No.
But more on that later, or tomorrow, I guess.
You couldn't have said that in a less worrying fashion.
Well, the dangers never stop.
I certainly don't seem to. Well, I guess get to sleep while you can, and he sort of indicates your slightly dented and maybe still vaguely bloodstained armor. He says, "I can do something about that if you'd like me to as well."
Well, it was the first test run of my proper test run of my new plate mill. It did its job.
It certainly seems to have held up.
Yes, it would be nice if you could clean it up a bit. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, you make arrangements to have your armor cleaned. And yeah, if anyone wants to do anything with the rest of the evening, otherwise we can look to advance forward as much as we need.
Well, I might as well get this out of the way, or probably. I'm gonna have to talk to Elizabeth, or I'm gonna see if Elizabeth would like to. Is around.
That's the thing. Depending on how late it is in the day, she's probably either in her room reading more of the Mountain of Learmon's books.
Yeah.
Or she's probably just milling around somewhere.
Yeah, she's fairly easy to find.
It doesn't really matter where I meet you.
Yeah.
But let's say, considering we came back in the evening, it's probably even going to be in the evening. So, well, I guess I'll knock on your door if it's closed. But...
Hearing a knock, she just go, "Who is it?"
It's Grim. I think we need to talk.
The door's not locked. You can come in.
Good.
She's midway through closing her book.
Well,
you sound very serious.
Well, it's because it's about something that shouldn't be taken lightly, and especially for you. So you remember how we were talking about potentially going to the Shadowfell?
Yes.
So I had the idea that if we could, they have a magic circle over there. And I was wondering if you could perhaps use that circle to, get us in there.
Okay. Over there as in
the
Shadowfell.
In the Shadowfell, in one of the facilities of the Cabal. I'm not saying we have to do it yet, but I was wondering if you could.
It's possible. My teleport spell that I used to take me and Arya back to the fort can go to a teleportation circle if I know the right code. But I'm not sure how I imagine if it's still cross-plane, I'd still need a rod attuned to the plane. I don't think I could skip planar transportation by going to a teleport circle.
Ah, yes. That might be a problem.
But yeah,
Okay.
just for clarification, I couldn't do that, could I, Ferrous?
Give me just a second. Can you roll the spell for me, or is it already? You've already got it here.
Yeah, it's already in the chat.
Well, like regardless if it works or not, the reason why I ask is because, I had this idea that said it might speed up our travels. But like regardless if it works or not, you would have to do something that you might be less comfortable with.
What?
See, because in order to learn of the circle and how like the symbols or whatever you need,
They're gonna try and talk to me, aren't they?
they would have to have a talk with you. Well, like it would be a one-on-one. But I'm pretty sure you know what that means. Like,
I don't have to, and I'm not going to take the ring off, if that's what you're asking. If they just want to talk to me, I can grant them permission to just talk.
like it will if that works, like that would be.
The ring prevents them reading or altering thought, and it only prevents telepathic communication in that form unless I allow it.
What about dreams?
This is why. What?
What about dreams? Like they prefer to have some visual aids. Like that's how they generally do it.
Dreams. I'm pretty sure it would stop that. That's not just simple communication. It's why, for example, Vondar would be able to still message me with sending while we're away.
Yes.
But I'm pretty sure it wouldn't work with that kind of.
Do you want to give me an Arcana check, Elizabeth?
Sure.
Okie dokie.
That's that's all right.
Could be worse.
Okay, so with an 18, you're aware of spells that can create illusions that manifest in the form of like dreams. It technically is a form of telepathic communication, so if you were willing to allow it, you could allow it.
Okay.
It is from a mechanics perspective, there's two ways that you can cast the spell Dream. You can cast it aggressively, which requires a saving throw, or you can cast it non-aggressively, which requires willingness.
Yeah. Okay. I imagine then there's a little bit of a Elizabeth getting a spell book out, flicking through it, getting another book out, flicking through it, and just going. Actually, it might still work.
Because your point of your point of contact would be
Through a
wow,
dream,
suddenly I forgot her name. The
Supreme Witch.
Supreme Witch, that's it. Like I knew it was a witch, but it's like grand, big,
Supreme Witch.
Supreme.
Right.
Yeah, like
Jack
so...
Black is heard in the distance.
Wait, how do you know this?
How do I know what?
First of all, that they're what they want to share with me anything at all, and that would be who I was talking to. Everything about this, now I think about it.
Well, like, you remember, like, it's been a while, but remember a while back when I mentioned that they were negotiating, like, that they asked us to join, or well, not necessarily join, but like,
Join forces.
yeah, join forces and offered us to have a look over there and all that stuff.
Yeah.
They've continued to try and persuade, and like I kind of settled on like us giving the like just us having a look, no commitments.
So wait, have you been talking to them in your dreams?
But that's how it's always been. No, it's not like a daily thing. Like every now and then.
Oh my god. It's not like it's anything big. Stares at the camera.
But yeah, like,
Are you? You know what? You're the boss. Fine, whatever.
well, if you really want to know, the circle idea was like I was the one that suggested it because of I can't remember exactly why, but like I got like because of all the circle magic and stuff that we've been dealing with recently.
There's probably something in the back of your brain that remembers that I can do that.
Oh yeah, no, well you've mentioned often about teleportation and
Exactly.
um,
Like the fact that I could,
but
if I cracked
yes,
the code, potentially teleport us to the Elven capital.
but like in short, like I said, if it's like I asked if it's possible, they said yes, and then I realized that you were pretty much the only valid option because much as I like the others here, I don't think they're quite as capable as in the realms of teleportation.
Well, you know what? Fine. If this Supreme Witch wants to try and talk to me, I'll allow it.
Well, considering you know a little bit of it, the dreams they seemed harmless so far, but like I don't assume they can do anything too bad.
Well, you've not lost memories, and you've not been acting weird. That's the only possible other effects I can think of.
No,
Well, I suppose an
asked,
excellent test of potential side effects would be if I get a communication now from this Supreme Witch and she knows everything we just said.
well, I think you realize that we've done that before, and yeah, there's if it and like they can't really do too much to stop it, or we can do a few things.
I could be doing plenty of things to stop it, but whatever.
Well, like yeah, you can stop it like a little by little every time, but the amount of effort you have to put in to actually be safe.
Well, okay.
But we'll
like,
like that is something though. Well, you might be able to find a more permanent solution to that kind of spying.
yeah.
But yes,
Well-
but I came here with asking if you'd be up for the task.
All right, I'll speak with this Supreme Witch.
Like they'll give you an opportunity to, evaluate what you think the situation is like. Because I do have to say, she's every time I see her, she's looking worse, and they say they're getting kind of beat down by the Dread Legion, which of all people to beat them, like I do not want the Dread Legion to,
Yeah.
the Dread Legion is the one group I'd like, or basically one of the few groups that I'd rather see lose than the Cabal. Cabal are messy and terrible, but they have, I want to say, standards. They're significantly lower than ours, but
I wouldn't say they have standards, but they and it's just like air quotes seem to have good intentions.
LOL.
well, they definitely, yeah.
some people do good things with terrible methods. It's got historical precedent.
Oh yeah, and then there's one more thing.
It's like the way that technically, if you've got
like-
a big plague coming in through a port town, in a way, the best thing to do is to just quarantine the town and leave them to it.
Yes.
It's not good,
Oh.
but
Yeah.
anyway, that's not the point. I will talk to this Supreme Witch if she wants to talk to me.
And as a side note, what if you can get some more of that secure communication going, where we can guarantee we're not being spied on? We might be able to use some tomorrow. But
Oh, do you mean
I don't.
that spell that I used that one time?
Well, if it's only that one you've got to last a minute, then don't bother. But otherwise, yeah, might as
I
well
mean-
try and be safe.
I can be ready to cast that spell if you want me to.
Or actually, you know what? Could you cast it now?
Right now, no.
Okay. Never mind. Because I was gonna ask you something, but I'll wait till we know it's somewhat safe. Because this is a little more important to shield from everything else.
Right.
But we'll wait till the others are here.
Okay. Well, yeah. I'll talk to her and see if I can learn of a teleportation circle, and then if we have a magical fortune to the Shadowfell, I can potentially teleport us straight there.
Well, we just need to find any gateway to the Shadowfell anywhere.
True.
But yes. And regardless, even if we don't end up using it properly, we have access to another circle in a potentially quite interesting location.
Very loose definition of interesting.
Well, like, it will probably be somewhat hostile if we break things up. But yes, interesting nonetheless.
Is there anything else?
I think that will be it. Guess you might need to. Yeah. You know
Also,
what?
I'm
I
guessing
might
the fact
join
that
you
you're
to
saying...
go. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, no.
I was going to say I might join you in buying some clothing.
I
Could
thought if
use a
anyone had
better.
wedding clothes, it'd be you. You actually attended the wedding properly.
Yes, but you know what? I can use an excuse to go out and get something slightly slightly better, something that would actually also hold up in,
Something
a
more
royal
military.
environment. Well, because we've been handling somewhat high-end figures, I'd call them, and odds are at one point some of them want to have a talk or whatever, and
The talk.
not the talk, just a talk. It's fine.
Please, not the talk. God.
Ah, yes.
When a man and his money love each other very much.
Oh,
They hire a
But yeah.
prostitute.
but yeah, no,
What?
I need
Wait,
something.
hold on.
Anyway,
But yes, so perhaps you can help us that.
see, as much as I joked that you are not to advise on fashion, neither am I. But yeah. I'm assuming though, by the fact that you want to have a talk, you'll want me available at some point tomorrow.
Oh, we're just gonna gather tomorrow before everybody heads out.
So first thing in the morning.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Just so I know not to run off first thing in the morning.
Yeah, good.
Okay. So,
Good night, Grim.
Good night.
you all head to your rooms, go to sleep, and Elizabeth, I imagine you leave your mind open to a specific communication then.
Well, yeah. If communication comes in, I'll allow it.
Okay. In that case, I will need to borrow you.
Yay! I'm being borrowed.
I have.
But
Okay. So, as you are asleep in your bed, you are aware of a sensation that takes a hold of your mind. It's sort of, it isn't sort of an aggressive probing, the sort of thing that you're used to resisting with the ring's effects. It's more like as if something is trying to mold your thoughts as if they were wet clay. Do you allow the communication?
Yes.
Okay. So-
Open the door.
Open up the door of Kukundu.
Ah.
So, you suddenly become aware that you find yourself standing in what looks like a glass domed chamber atop a fairly tall structure. As you cast your gaze around, you notice a number of component tables, candle sconces, and a large chalk pattern drawn on this floor. This is unmistakably some form of Arcanist's workshop. As you look up into the domed glass ceiling, you look out across a grey-black sky that is illuminated by a sickly pale light. You have never been to the Shadowfell before, so you don't recognize this. But yeah, you find yourself in what is essentially the midst of an Arcanist's workshop in the middle of a arcane circle. And sitting in front of you, cross-legged, on a plush cushion, wearing a sort of a loose black dress with a like a plunging neckline, is the woman that you saw in the crypt in slightly more formal dress. The tan skin, the mousy sort of hair that comes back in ringlets. She sort of looks up at you as you're standing there, and you, much as Grim described, she looks worn. She looks like she's tired. She looks like she hasn't been sleeping as much, and a fairly recent mark of a scar that has been healed by magic appears from the left-hand corner of her mouth and runs down her chin to her throat. But she looks up at you and says, "Ah, I see Quagrim has finally taken my advice."
And I see that you have been listening to his every thought while he's awake.
Not precisely. We have conversed at length, and I have been paying attention to his conversations where I deem them relevant.
Shall we just get to the point then?
She sort of gestures to the room around you and says, "You know why you're here."
Well, the fact that I'm stood in a mage circle, I'm guessing this is the teleportation circle.
She nods.
I guess I will examine the circle.
Okay.
Because
Yeah, you begin the process of absorbing the code. While you're doing this, she sort of stays seated on the cushion and drinks from a china cup. And after a moment or two, she sort of raises her voice and says, "You know, I've seen the way you battle.
Mm.
You show a lot of potential. I've not seen wizards so young produce such vicious attacks. The way you conjure fire and lightning, it's inspiring. Where did you learn?
From home. I was homeschooled.
You taught yourself from books.
Mostly. Had a few tutors. A few stayed for long.
I also learned from tutors. The mine were a little more consistent, perhaps. Took me a long time to achieve this.
This being...
She gestures to the room again. All of it. My power, my skills. You know, I was once very important. And then things changed, and suddenly I was no longer as important. But I still had my intelligence. I made of it what I could.
An unusual choice of home.
It has meaning.
Because that's not sinister.
Not at all. I sought mastery over death. It is one of the most powerful arts of magic. And so I came here. Do you know why I sought it?
Is it the generic story of a wizard who just keeps seeking power? It's driven by their greed and will eventually fall? The classic cautionary tale?
She smiles and sort of says, "You're a reader of the classics, then." No, it is not that. I seek it because I learned something very important. And that is, for most beings, they will never attain immortality. Most beings, be it in 10 years or 100, will die. And those who have immortality often can't be trusted to make the decisions that are needed.
Okay, I see where this is going. It's the other cautionary tale. The don't go seeking eternal life one.
Now, I already had eternal life. I just sought to correct the balance.
Okay, I guess despite trying to keep a serious face, Elizabeth looks quite surprised by that. It's like, you had eternal life already?
She smiles and sort of says, "Had, yes." I'm surprised you haven't done the deduction yet. Perhaps you don't have all the information. Perhaps Quagrim is not as forthcoming as I thought. Or perhaps he hasn't worked it out himself. Perhaps I underestimated him. Or overestimated him, rather. This seems to be an incredibly one-sided conversation, so I'm assuming if you're done.
Like, am I done?
Yes.
Then yeah, she just nods.
Shame. I was looking forward to some intellectual conversation. And you are awake in your bed.
Just for that sort of bullshit that they do. Oh, we're back.
Hello.
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 Okay, so you are all roused for the next morning.
I'm just gonna pretend that long conversation didn't happen.
Yeah, it's fine. We don't know that anything happened. We just went to sleep.
Yep.
Yep.
Or whatever.
Yeah. I'm definitely not worried about Elizabeth having a one-on-one.
Nope, I'm sure everything's fine.
So yeah, rise and shine.
The way Arya doesn't know any of this bullshit.
It's fine.
It's breakfast time. Totally normal day.
Well, like there's still some stuff we need to do today.
So, yeah, I assume, Grim, if you want to talk to everyone, you sort of gather them.
Yes, I will gather the peeps.
You are all gathered in the war room.
So,
You want me to do the?
oh, like no, not yet, but we'll get to that. So now that we've well, kind of had this whole dragon thing come to an end, I think it's important that we figure out what we actually want to work towards next. Because not only did we basically write history, we also gained a lot of resources. Basically, with the ability to do whatever we want, really, or almost whatever we want. And I wasn't sure about what you guys had planned so far. But I wanted to make sure that everybody was on board with how we decided to, well, divvy things up or well, so far as divvying is needed. A few of the there's few small things, like just a couple 100 gold set aside for rewarding, like giving all our all personnel a small boost or a little present, and for a feast in the town. Furthermore, I had hoped to potentially expand this place at some point, but I'm not quite sure what we would build first. And after we've discussed those things, there is still the matter of visiting our friendly local cabal. Maybe not so friendly, but
Absolutely not friendly.
No.
well, I guess if you want to, we can. Well, I guess, and then I guess there's a third point. Lithari.
Yes.
Like, you're free to stick around if you want to, because we can always use someone like you. However, it might not be entirely clear what we're going to do next.
Well, at least for the interim, I think I'd like to hang around here for a bit.
Ah, good. It's nice to have you around.
It's been a while since I've attended a wedding.
Yes, of course. Oh yeah, feel free to stay for all the festivities. And I guess you should also, well, you deserved a reward of some kind. I don't know if you had any interest in the dragon or money, or you like just, well, you can figure out what you would like, and then I'm sure we'll figure that out.
I mean, just getting the opportunity to adventure with you all again has been more than enough compensation.
Well, then in that case, I guess we'll owe you a favor. Because well, I think I speak for everyone if I say that we enjoyed it as well, having you around. Good. Well, so, does anybody have any suggestions as to how to spend the money, or would you prefer to discuss the Cabal first?
I think starting with something that we can immediately address is probably our better option here.
To be honest, I feel like both are kind of hard to address. Although I guess the money is simpler in small amounts.
Yeah. I mean, if you're looking to expand, surely getting more beds is pretty high up on the list.
Well, more beds and stuff would be nice. But we're also thinking of perhaps some like a forge, so we have some capability of making and, more importantly, repairing our own gear. Perhaps a chapel of some kind might be nice. I know we have a lot of different worshippers here. But I'm not the expert on all things religious. But yes, definitely an extra bit of housing. Perhaps a guest house might be nice. Something because it's becoming more and more common that we have guests, and I like, even though he seems to be fine, I feel like Rask is. We should get him a proper place. The kitchen is
Still in the... Okay.
Just
Oh,
chilling
wow.
in the kitchen.
like, he is still technically a diplomat, and I feel like having him sleep in the kitchen.
Oh, wait, didn't
is-
we offer him a bed to start? Because we had...
Yeah,
I can't remember how we did it, but
we definitely offered him a bed.
he was happy in the kitchen, but
Yeah, he was just like, I'm sleeping. in the
He
kitchen.
enjoys sleeping in the kitchen, particularly at this time of year, because he's cold-blooded.
Yeah.
Mm.
yeah, but like,
So he likes the heat of the kitchen to warm him up. But yeah,
yeah.
we could. I suppose in theory, if you want extra beds, we could just build a sort of, well, like an officers' quarters that could also function as guest housing, and then just convert the rest of, well, what is our rooms now, into more housing for troops, and just turn that into a full barracks.
That is definitely an option. There is one thing I want to note about that. I don't want like our housing to be too much nicer compared to our regular mercenaries.
No, of course not.
Right.
Because I feel like that would set a bad example.
Well, no,
like-
I'm not. Well, yeah, I'm
Like
not
something
suggesting,
fancier as in the for the guest house, I'm fine with, because
Yeah.
like we get tons of picky people nowadays.
Well, yeah, I'm just thinking, like, if we built this like as effort officers' quarters, like Grim, you can actually have your own office that leads into your bedroom. Other officers can have a bedroom like the ones we use now, and then you can have like fancier guest quarters upstairs or something.
Well, you know what? Like, I feel like it might be an idea.
At this point, Vondal sort of weighs in and says, Tiff's come up with some interesting plans. I've seen a couple of her designs. I could potentially gather some of those and we could take a look and you can pick and choose.
You know what? That might be good. Well, I guess now that I guess we'll just all stew on that for a little bit, and now think of the slightly more short-term things. Considering we have roughly 30 men, like in the barracks and just around, I was considering giving them 10 gold each, so they can have some good times for the next couple. Well, probably for a long time, but
Yeah, they can get very smashed on 10 gold.
Yeah, 10 gold's a lot.
Don't spend it all in one place.
yeah. But then they can't say they.
I suppose they were dealing with the effects of a dragon. It's not your everyday occurrence.
Oh, I will, they've done their best. They haven't, at least as far as I've heard from Fundal, they haven't huffed and puffed too much.
Huffed and puffed.
There were some minor disagreements, but nothing unexpected. They have racked up a decent amount of overtime, though.
So I feel like that should be rewarded. So that also in the future, if we ever need them, to really, give that extra mile, then they would be more likely or more inclined to do so because they know that we'll actually appreciate it.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Plus now that commerce will be getting going again in the town, which I don't think we've actually properly informed them yet, but I'll make sure we do that.
All day.
But yeah, once that gets going again, it will be good to have a little initial injection of gold.
Yeah, I think that we should definitely at least try to support the town while they recover from all of this.
Yes, but see, that's what part of the plan. By giving our people 10 gold each, they will go to the town and spend that gold, and suddenly,
That's smart.
bam!
That is something, I suppose.
Yes. Well, we might do more, but that's definitely a good start. And I was hoping that we could celebrate with the town somehow. Just have a big feast. See if they can get a couple of pigs or something, and then just roast them whole and have food for everyone.
So I actually had a thought on that front.
Yeah.
After our conversation. We know some fairly important people in town. I'm sure they're having meetings similar to us, or if they aren't, they will do as soon as we tell them. Might be worth putting our heads together to come up with something collaborative.
Oh, definitely. We can't organize something in the town without them knowing, and they'll probably have a better feel of how to do it.
It'll certainly put us in their good books, and I think we'll get a lot more effect out of our money if we coordinate.
Yes, definitely.
We also probably want to notify them before we bring the corpse of a dragon through the middle of town, particularly because it's not my strong point, but I've done some maths.
Yes.
We might be better bringing it in pieces.
Yeah, probably.
Well,
Yeah.
Because
I guess as long as we keep the skin and stuff as intact as possible, we need some. I guess we need to get some skilled hunters. They would know how. They wouldn't know how to do it. But...
Hello.
Oh yeah.
Some skilled hunters, my ass.
Well, if you want to skin the dragon, feel free. It's gonna be time consuming, and prepare everything else.
I suppose as
So-
well, the only real like super important thing about it is those poison glands.
That was going to be my other suggestion. If we butcher the thing there, it might be easier to transport the bits that we need. Because
Yes.
honestly,
trying
if
to haul a whole dragon.
trying to haul that thing, you're going to need a whole bunch of carts. You're never going to get it in one. And honestly, I think you can do your little procession on
Yeah.
just a head.
Yeah, the head is the bare minimum. Also, the head is the most badass. But yeah, no, I think a head will do. And we're also, I feel like considering the significance of this event, I feel like we should find a someone who can, preserve it. Like I would say mount it on a wall, but like it's gonna break the wall. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to need to build a structure to house it. It's...
Man, I always thought like our first real thing would be like an eagle. Slightly disappointing it's a
I think
dragon, but I feel like
Slightly disappointed it's a dragon.
I'll get over it.
I mean, surely it'd be better to have a live eagle anyway.
Oh.
Just pick up falconry.
See, I don't have time for that.
That would be cool. I could do it.
That would be
Fake eagles way easier.
I can talk to animals and get them to do my bidding, so
I mean,
it would actually be
if you
pretty
really
easy.
wanted to, you could dismiss Lyra's spirit and resummon it in the form of an eagle.
Okay, Lyra, sit there for like the next.
Now please become a giant eagle.
Oh, that would be rude.
Hold still, I'm just going to reweave your atoms into a completely different shape.
Oof.
I mean, I think I don't know how it feels to her, but I don't think she'd care.
Oh, but I feel like you should keep her around as she prefers, or you prefer. Like,
Yeah,
but
she's
we'll
got
figure
wolf.
out how to deal, like where we'll put that and everything. The only thing is, when the head, we should probably bring the head through first, then, and then when it comes through, we should probably be there, as just to show the people that we
Well,
keep them safe.
Well, yeah, surely it'd be butcher it there, get it all prepared for transport, and then as soon as we're all ready to go, we all get on the cart with the head and go.
Well, I don't know if we're gonna have enough carts to bring the whole thing
Well,
in
yeah,
one go.
You know what I mean, though.
Yeah. Yeah, but like it's just what I'm trying to say is just be ready when.
Vondel
Or,
sort
like,
of
what
nods
movie?
and says, I have at least some of the logistics figured out, and Sadani is doing the rest, so we'll let you know.
Otherwise, I think.
Which
Was
is good
anything
practice.
else?
Logistics does win wars.
Oh, there is one thing I haven't mentioned yet because that was. Oh, actually, before I can. Well, because I've had more conversations with the Supreme Witch. Not really been talking about much. Mainly, just she keeps on asking if. Slightly more irritated if I could stop by or we could stop by. But I did ask Elizabeth if she would be willing to learn about like the magic circle they have there, so we could potentially teleport. And Elizabeth, how did that go? Or no, wait, you haven't told us yet that you have seen her. Never mind.
But you can still ask, how did it go?
Yeah, you can ask with the assumption.
Yes. Well, actually, like,
It's
see,
just whether Grim would
the
do
thing
this.
is, I don't think I actually assumed that she that it would be the same night, because if it
Yeah,
is,
true.
that kind of means that she's been eavesdropping.
Well, to be
which-
fair,
Well, also, when you had the conversation, she insinuated that she would try if you would ask, and you did
okay.
agree to ask.
Yes. I guess that's true.
Well,
I mean, I
either
think
way,
regardless
Elizabeth,
of whether Grim asks Elizabeth outright, I think I kind of just look at Arya like, oh my fucking god.
yeah. Well, yeah. Also, Elizabeth will just say, "I can do it if I have a fork attuned to the Shadowfell.
Okay.
I know the code for their magic for their teleportation circle."
Good.
So just
Well.
a quick point of clarification, I guess. How long has this been happening? I know you mentioned once before, Grim, but
It's basically twice, maybe 3 times since, but it's mainly just been me saying like we've got other stuff to do, like the dragon. However, there is one part that I haven't brought up yet because the reason why I asked Elizabeth was because basically the day was it the day before we went out to slay the dragon. She came to me. She came to me again, and then we had this whole thing that led to me asking Elizabeth. However, there was something else that I haven't had the opportunity to talk about yet. She did mention that the Dread Legion might be coming for us in a rather well, she didn't quite want to tell us how. But from the looks, I felt like it was sincere enough. And it also kind of looks like they've been struggling with beating the Dread Legion themselves, because she's talking to me about how she kind of wants us to show up and preferably would like the artifact that we're never going to give them. In order to hold them back. And every time I see her, she is looking a lot worse. And this might sound a little weird. I'm a little worried about them. Because
she didn't look good last night. That's for certain.
Because like there's one thing to get rid of the Cabal. However, I do not want the Cabal to fall in exchange for a more powerful Dread Legion. Because there's one thing that I'm pretty certain of, and that's the Cabal doesn't aim to destroy the world. Unlike the Dread... Which
a
is
bold statement.
no, instead they just want to control the world. You know?
Yeah.
Yes,
the
but
huge difference.
that is one step, like, in the order of how bad are people, that is for me one step below just annihilate everything.
That's a pretty low bar. Can we just talk
Yes.
about that?
It is a very low bar, but it's an important bar.
And,
Is it?
well, okay, imagine a force that, like, just destroyed the Cabal, and doing so, the Cabal, I don't know if you were quite aware of how, I think they kind of explained it, but you know how the Dread Legion are looking for shards, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Cabal have been trying to keep those shards out of their hands. So I'm guessing that also means they have a fair amount of those shards in one way or another. And those might all suddenly fall into the hands of the Dread Legion, which I have no idea what amounts we're talking about. However, if it's if it pushes them over the threshold for their summoning ritual, that would that would be bad.
Also, if anyone should know about the fact that being under someone's control doesn't mean it has to be like that forever, I'd have thought it'd be you, Kelariis.
Excuse me?
The spear you're holding? The story behind it? Is it, or is that not a story of a world under control gaining freedom?
Yes, but the whole point is to try to prevent it from happening in the first place.
Look, all I'm saying is it's not the end of the. It's not as bad as everyone dying if it does happen, and it's reversible. Everyone dying, a lot less reversible.
let me be clear. I am not sure that if this were to happen, that the Red Legion would actually have enough or get stronger. However, considering the resources that they would, get access to, because even just the magical artifacts that they possess were quite significant. And if it's a force that can take out the Cabal, then I'm pretty sure that we're gonna need all the help we can get from any however bad it may sound.
Sounds pretty bad.
Look, if those two are gonna fight to destroy each other, I'd much rather the Cabal destroyed the Dread Legion than the Dread Legion destroyed the Cabal.
It's definitely easier to deal with an opposing force when they're tied up with something else as well. I can understand Grim's point.
Well, on top of that, I think that in their current state, the Cabal, or at least I say in their current state because we should still, there's still the possibility that it is deception.
Yeah.
However, it's been it would have been rather good, after this many, let's call it sessions, it has become, it seems quite convincing, and the things they require from us are quite minimal currently. Things they'd like from us are, of course, quite They would like the crown, which we're never going to give.
Look, there's
Um,
there's a lot that we, of course, do not like about the Cabal, but I at least believe we have the same aim.
No.
No.
No. No.
Look,
We don't.
Okay, look, I used this kind of metaphor with Grim last night, and it actually kind of works. It's like when you get there's historical precedent for different, more drastic measures to solutions to a problem. It's like, if in one way you can look at it like this: if there was a port town that was riddled with disease, right? The Cabal's solution would be to quarantine the whole port, let no one in or out, and let it run its course. Our solution would be find doctors and healers and try to contain it that way. Both of us going for the same end goal of no disease, but going about it in very, very different ways, one of which is potentially not great morally.
That's like saying, oh, there's this regime in this country. It's very bad. But there's this other guy who's not quite so bad, so maybe we put him in that regime. But not thinking about the fact that in 50 years, that place is now going to be a powder keg because we put this other regime in power.
well, see,
This is not a good gamble.
the thing is, it's not really that much of a gamble. I find we're gonna have to do this regardless. The only difference is when. If we do it now, we might have some help on our side.
I will not work side by
Yeah,
side.
I'm
with
not.
them.
I'm not doing that. So
don't
count
have
me
I
to
out.
get
work
what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but I will not work side by side with the Cabal.
We don't have to work side by side with the Cabal. We can just move against the Dread Legion. No one said anything about directly helping them. But it's clear the Dread Legion is beating them, and if we don't strike the Dread Legion now, they're going to take out the Cabal and focus all of their effort on us. We want the Dread Legion fighting on as many fronts as possible.
Are you trying to lecture me on the way that a war works?
Well, clearly it's necessary.
Well, yes, I am. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were just a soldier. Whereas
And were
this is
you ever
not
a
a
soldier,
battle
Elizabeth?
we're fighting. This is a war. And war is more than just individual battles. It's a long thing.
You think I don't know that? I'm not saying that we shouldn't attack the Dread Legion. Don't misunderstand me. I understand what both of you are saying. I don't have to like the fact that we are potentially not bolstering another threat. But I will not work with them, even if we do attack the Dread Legion. I don't need a lecture from somebody who has never been in an army, or who has never fought in a war.
Elizabeth, the people who know most about war are the people who fight it, not the people who plan them.
But
Well, that depends about what aspect of war you mean. If we were talking about individual battles, then yes, you would definitely know a lot more than me. But planning is a very, very different aspect and just as important.
Have you ever planned a war?
Have you ever read countless tomes on theory
Reading
crafting for war?
Theory
is
is
not
different
the
from
same.
practice.
It's still more practice with war than with grand
Well,
planning
see-
of war than you have.
Elizabeth, I think that their problem is not so much with what is the optimal strategy as the horrors that come with the like every battle is in itself a horror to some degree. It's like it's like I see what you're saying, and I to an extent I definitely agree. However, like there is one aspect that is important in a war, and that is you can't really lose your troops to arguments. Like if like we need well we need Kelariis and Arya, and they like it, and they've been in, well, don't know about it. Well, Arya has, it's not been a full scale war, but she has had she has seen some atrocities of battle. Mainly, like I think the biggest, like one of the more recent ones was what's it called again? And the Elven outpost when the Manticore attacked, like all those innocent people were just burnt. But I do think, or I do solemnly believe that without the knowledge that that we can acquire from the Cabal, we have no clue what we're doing against the Dread Legion. Like we have basically nothing. We found we so far everything we've figured out about them is more so been luck than anything else.
I mean, knowledge of your enemy's next move is a significant advantage.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking as well.
Yeah, but do we have to make a deal with the devil to get that knowledge?
Well, it depends on what the
What do they
deal
want in
is.
return?
Currently, they are in the phase where they want to persuade us because they think, or that's like she thinks she has a chance, or at least I believe she thinks she has a chance to bring us to their side to some degree. However, we have no obligations. There is one thing. I am pretty sure that they will make an attempt to get the crown.
That's what I'm worried about.
But they'll make that regardless of what we do.
Yeah. Also, like, if they're truly struggling against the Dread Legion, we have power over them to an extent. If they're that desperate for our help, they'll be more likely to accept less. Or rather, we can give them less to get more out of them, because our help is worth more to them.
For the moment.
Exactly.
Once we open that door, that's going to be very hard to close.
Well, you say that, but like, what would the depend? Like, it only depends on what we like, how far we open it to begin with.
Yeah. Say we just open the shutters.
Avoid going too deep into metaphors because it might be confusing.
Yeah.
Well, but yes, well, there's clearly we have not quite figured out what we want to do here. Perhaps. Well, no, I shouldn't. I was gonna say maybe I should have waited until after the celebrations, but I feel like this is too important not to tell you.
No,
mainly because there is a good chance that the moves are being made.
I think telling us about this was definitely the right thing to do. But it's clear we need plans.
Yes.
Yeah. Telling us is good, but we're far from a plan.
Yeah. Well,
If anything, we have time to think now what each of us wants.
I guess then, unless you have anything else to add, we should go and celebrate a little bit.
I think that's a good idea. I think there's something that should be kept in mind here. We, as you put it, are in the middle of a war here, but we have the luxury of choosing our next battle. We should choose the one that we can win.
Lithari nods.
Yeah. And I'm sorry for I guess trying to lecture you guys.
I like kind of like incline my head in like acknowledgement, but I don't really say anything else.
There are some things that cannot and should not be bent in the name of victory. I think we can all agree on that.
Indeed.
It's just, where do we draw that line in the sand?
Everybody draws it differently.
Better to draw it safely than not to draw it at all. That's all I say.
But
Well,
what Grim says is right. Let's not let this distract us too much from the fact that we have two rather happy things to be celebrating.
well, I guess if anybody has any suggestions, feel free to, well, seek me out. Perhaps you can either can sway me to, well, sway me to agree with you on this issue with the Cabal and the Legion, or perhaps the other way around. But I'm sure we'll bring it up again.
At the very least, we should meet up and talk about it after the ceremonies.
Okay.
Although one thing,
Mm.
the next time one of you gets a message from a witch in the middle of the night, maybe that should be the first thing that you tell people.
Just maybe.
Bundle has a point.
Well,
Yeah.
see, like, I did at the first available opportunity.
I mean, the first available opportunity would have been the morning it happened.
Well, you say that. Like, we kind of set out to slay a dragon, and we didn't have much time.
I mean, it still would have been useful to know.
Oh, it
Like, yeah, we couldn't have acted on it, but
and like, and you would have been focused on that in the back of your mind instead of on the dragon.
Just
I will say,
something to consider.
As much as I don't love the fact that it's even happening at all, I do think that Grim may have made the right choice instead of providing a potential distraction. So
no, you're right. Well, to be fair, the only reason she was able to talk to me was because I let her.
Well, speaking of distractions, I have a delivery of ale.
Good. That we shall.
Try not to drink it all.
Wow.
What? Gotta, lighten the mood.
That's fine. Well, I guess I'll go around and talk to the officials.
Okay.
is there business in the town that needs to be done? I'm asking Grim and Bundle because
Oh,
I have
well,
no fucking idea.
Yeah.
Like basically, we just need to inform of our plans to celebrate that we're dragging a dragon through. That the road is safe, and otherwise, I guess just no, not really. I guess I like the only other thing is that I said I'd go clothes shopping with Elizabeth.
Unless you want to take care of those things specifically, I wanted to check in on them anyway, so I can take care of that. Pass on
Sure.
the news if you'd like.
Sure. I'm sure you'll be fine.
If you have a specific message, I can take that with, but...
No.
And, well...
just be sure to let them know that we're still willing, despite the fact that the emergency is over. We're still willing to help. Or the direct threat has passed.
And also, anyone who wants to come with to the tailors is welcome.
Okay. So, as I said, we will fast forward through dragging all the loot back to the town, celebrating with the dragon, going clothes shopping, informing the town, arranging this party, sorting things for the wedding. My question is, do people want any scenes in between this and the party?
I don't think it's worthy of a scene, but what's the elven lady's name? The demiplane one?
Lady of Falkir.
Lady of Falkir?
Yes, yeah. Lady Yelena of Falkir.
Is she still around?
She is still around, yes. She is waiting for you to bring back dragon bits for her to examine.
Yeah.
Okay. Then at some point I want to because I'm probably I think it's safe to say that I might be familiar with guard rotations. I would like at some point to see if I can sneak into wherever the Storm Guard are staying during this point.
Okay.
And take one of their suits of armor.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Okay.
A whole
Lithari is just harassing the poor Storm Guard.
You know what? I'm half expecting you to just fucking pull a Sarah from Dragon Age Inquisition and just steal all their trousers.
So, yeah, my question is, what is the desired outcome of this?
Just to have it for now.
I was gonna
Okay.
say, I feel like the answer is just to fuck with them.
Yeah, she just wants a suit of armor.
Oh my god.
So, because you can, I will say from your knowledge, you can definitely you can definitely attempt to do that. It will be noticed straight away whether you are detected or not, and it will immediately result in an inquisition.
Oh, that's true.
They don't just have a spare set of armor lying around that nobody will miss. You will be taking
Yeah.
somebody's armor while they are sleeping or
Yeah,
meditating.
please.
How long are they planning on staying? Or I guess when are they planning on leaving?
Probably as soon as they get their hands on dragon bits.
Yeah, like Lady Felka will stay for a while to investigate the dragon bits, but pretty much once you give them to her, she will probably just teleport home.
Okay. Oh, how worth it is this?
It's not.
I mean, that's up to you to decide.
Okay. Based on my knowledge of the Storm Guard, how badly would they take that if it were to happen? hypothetically?
Incredibly.
Okay. Then I won't do it. I won't do it.
I was gonna say, you're literally committing a crime.
This is a crime.
Yeah.
It's not fucking around with some guards.
Yeah, like seriously,
Yeah.
stop. Just like you don't want to commit a crime against the guards themselves. That's
Eh.
like the number one way to ask to get your ass handed to you.
I mean,
See- If this was like on base and you were still in the organization, you could probably get away with this, and the worst you would get is a bollocking from your commander and have to clean the barracks.
Mhm.
Out
Yeah, that's
here,
true.
it would evolve potentially into a diplomatic incident.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do it then.
I'm also like tempted to say Elizabeth keeps. Like, Elizabeth probably spends most of her time either seeing if Sidani wants to spar more.
Okay.
For lols, or occasionally getting bored of sitting reading in a room and sitting here and reading instead.
Okay. Yeah, Sidani will spar with you every now and again, but basically, like right before the party, she isn't around the base as much because she actually goes on leave.
Obviously, but yeah, like she just spends a lot of time reading in various spots around the base because there's still fucking Latherman's books to work through.
Is there anything anybody else wants to do, and do you think it's worthy of a scene?
I'm trying to think.
I don't necessarily think it's worthy of any scenes or anything, but it's probably worth mentioning that Kelariis probably spends a lot of time trying to like invite Tallithsyr along to do things, or just doing things in general with Tallithsyr. And it's probably, at least for the first day after that conversation, a little like not really what is the word that I'm looking for? Standoffish, I guess. But tries to kind of basically just like do her own thing to mitigate that. Yeah.
You're pissed and keeping busy to avoid being pissed.
Yes, essentially.
That's a mood.
Also probably not worthy of a scene, but like Elizabeth wants to show Lydia Falkir the replay thing.
Okay, yeah.
By just popping a high level spell slot into it and letting it play for a bit and skipping the bits where there's literally nothing.
It doesn't make a lot of sense because not a lot of the scenery is there, but
Well, no, yeah, obviously. Elizabeth explains what would have been there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just occasionally like have to like shuffle over as one of them just walks through a wall.
Yeah. Well, I imagine she'd do it like in the middle of the training hall while there's no one there.
Yeah.
Because that's the nice biggest open space, and it's kind of the same size as the room.
Yeah. Unfortunately, finding it when there's nobody there is quite uncommon, as you haul dragon bits and loot, as it's like basically like piled up in the center.
Latherman just walks through the dragon's head.
Yeah.
I imagine Lithari's keeping busy with continuing her paintings
Mhm.
of the base and everything.
Yeah, the painting of the base of the sunset and Grim standing on the dragon head.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
Can I practice my summoning ability with my wolves?
You can.
Oh my
Nice.
god.
You
I don't
summoned
want a scene,
27
but-
wolves.
Yeah. You spook a significant number of mercenaries as one day standing in the middle of the courtyard. You finish casting a spell and like 7 wolves appear just
Do they just appear like out of nowhere, or do they like come out of the woods nearby or something?
I would like to imagine they come out of the woods.
Well,
Out of the
technically they
woods.
manifest wherever you want to place them within the radius of the spell.
Okay,
So-
I'm gonna put them in the woods.
Okay.
I've just got the mental image of like loads of dire wolves just vaulting over the palisade wall, like rah!
Yes. I want it to be dramatic, alright?
That's
Okay.
fair, honestly.
What the fuck's the point if it's not dramatic?
And they all just stop right in front of Arya and sit down. Just look at her.
You cause quite a stir.
The guards are like, what the fuck?
I imagine the guards outside are probably the most freaked out because they just see like wolves running towards.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not subtle, but it's not supposed to be.
At least I told people when I was summoning things inside the keep.
It's fine. They're not hurting anybody.
So
I also imagine whenever Lithari is not painting, she's sparring with
Mhm.
whoever's around.
Well, I'll spar if Lithari shows up and
Yeah.
Ferrous happens to be around.
Well,
But
there you go. It seems that we've got a spot like loads of people just wanting to spar. Honestly,
Does Kelariis ask her for a rematch?
I was thinking about it. Kelariis has some pride left, is the problem.
Some pride.
it's okay if you want the pride back. Just fight Elizabeth. That's how you get the pride back.
Not a good idea right now. Also, that's not even like this is no offense to Elizabeth, but there's no sense of pride being earned from like
Beating up
having
someone
a-
who could easily beat up.
Yeah.
yeah, like I could pick up Elizabeth and just like or Kelariis could just pick up Elizabeth and just like throw her and that's it. Like
You could pick up Grim.
I have picked up Grim. I have thrown Grim.
I have picked up
and
Grim.
he's still just as much worthy.
yeah,
That's different.
but the
Yeah.
difference is picking up Grim when Grim doesn't want to be picked up would be significantly harder than picking up Elizabeth when she doesn't want to be picked up.
Hey, if Elizabeth doesn't want to be picked up, she just teleports the fuck away. That's way harder.
Joke's on you, I could follow you.
Not with fast step, you can't.
Eh,
Try going 60 feet.
Yeah, but it's not really a fight then, is it? It's more of a, I can run away quicker than you can.
No.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, it's not like a wrestling match.
No. Elizabeth cannot
A
wrestle.
wrestling match. Let's get ready to rumble!
If Elizabeth's sister was here, she could wrestle. But Elizabeth cannot wrestle.
Yeah, but I think to answer the question that Holly asked if Kelariis is asking for a rematch, I don't think she frames it that way. But also,
I mean, Lithari's also asking.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if Lithari's asking, Kelariis is gonna be like, "Fuck yeah."
Okay. So I think that's actually a good scene to interrupt.
What?
Okay.
So, Kelariis and Lithari, you are sparring as Tallithsyr watches. And despite being on leave from the base, Sudani arrives in the training hall and sort of politely hovers on the edge and waits for you to finish.
I was just saying, can Elizabeth just be sat in the corner?
Sure.
Because it's something she'd want to watch.
Yeah, I mean, when there's a break, I guess like, kind of. I would assume we've noticed like Sidani is probably making herself like noticed in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I think as soon as Lithari notices her arrive, she would have like lowered her sword and just be like, "Well, don't just stand there."
Okay. Yeah, it's only sort of so it says sorry to interrupt. Kelariis, can I have a word?
Sure. Here or just kind of like gestures as if like out the door.
Here'll do.
Okay.
Sort of like closes the distance between you and so says, Sarah comes in and sort of listens in on the conversation, and she says, actually, I was talking to Sarah the other day, when you were out after the dragon. She said you were curious about the. I forgot how we described it. She said you were curious about the strange woman with a dark metal sword that we met.
Yes.
Lithari comes closer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sidani sort of says, well, I asked around. I was on the mission when we went, but I didn't actually notice her. It wasn't until afterwards that Tallithsyr reminded me, and I suppose I kind of did see her in a sense.
How do you mean, in a sense?
Well, so we went into a tavern in Rosenlot. We were looking into some reports that there may be sort of a smuggling ring operating out of there. We didn't really come to any sort of conclusion. We shook down some guys who seemed suspicious, and I think that kind of put an end to it. But we never really sort of got anything out of it. But we were in this tavern at the time, and I remember sort of seeing the woman. She didn't strike anything with me until Tallithsyr mentioned her afterwards. But now that you've drawn specific attention to it, there was something that was a little unusual, sort of about her demeanor. I remember when we came in, she was one of the people who was sat closest to the door, and it's almost as if she was keeping an eye on everything that was happening. At first I saw leather and sword and presumed sort of security, but it may have been something else. I don't know exactly, but I recall some vague stabs of conversation that were happening around me when this was going on. And I could be wrong, but I think someone referred to her as Miss Hylas.
I'm gonna assume that doesn't ring any bell with me.
It does. And
Oh,
it actually rings a bell with Lithari as well.
Oh boy.
Because Lithari, when Llewellyn came back from his little jaunt to look into the black steel smuggling incidents that were going on in the south, Yasnira Hylas is one of the names that came back in association with your companions.
That was one of the buyers?
It was. It was the name of the seller who traded materials to.
Fuck.
Oh god!
What's his name?
The Vampire Lord man.
Yes, I've forgotten his name.
Lord Saranda.
Yes, Lycidius.
Lycidius Saranda.
So yes.
Right, yeah, Elizabeth probably stands up hearing that and goes, "What, really?"
Yes. Is that
And this-
significant?
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
You know that name.
Oh, sorry, who was that directed at?
Like everybody is not Lithari, basically.
Oh, yeah, well,
Yeah, we
Lithari knows that that's how Llewellyn got the information, right? Because we were all there.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh.
The TLDR, the story was Llewellyn basically got in a bit of a scuffle with
Altercation.
with an altercation with somebody that he thought was involved in the black market trade. Was actually in a lot deeper than they initially thought. And during that altercation, met the Amber Eagle, who were also doing their own sort of thing. They went to basically an island in the Astral Sea, where there was basically a space-based trading outpost, for want of a better term.
Yep.
And they found a book with writing that existed both on the material and ethereal planes. And one of the names in the book was Yasnira Hylis, who was a supplier, supposedly.
Yeah.
And we spent IRL like an hour and a half cracking that code, I think.
Yes.
Which was very fun.
Fucking awesome.
Yes.
But yeah, Elizabeth would just like turn to Zidani and say, "Yeah, we know the name. Suffice to say, she had something she shouldn't have had, and not only did she have it, she sold it to someone who definitely shouldn't have it."
Yeah, well, from what I understand, that sounds like her trade, and it sounds like she has a lot more where that came from. And you're certain the sword she carried looked like this, and Lithari like half draws her sword from its scabbard.
Sidani sort of says, "I didn't really see it," and then Tessera says, it was."
Well, Sidani, you said that you had asked a bit around recently. Has anybody seen her or heard of her since?
So, I asked a couple of questions, but nothing, no sign or of anything of her. But the general gist I got was that she was only stopping over on business, and that she had something to do in the east, something to do with a red run.
Sorry, a red what?
Red run.
That, and I think that doesn't ring any bells.
It was part of. It was one of the lines in the translated cipher message was, "If you insist on finding that cursed sword, I suggest you find out who this red run is, because I will not."
Yeah.
Lithari, you haven't made a check on this yet. Can you roll me a history check?
Oh boy. This isn't gonna go well.
Okay, no. You have no idea what or who red run is.
Mm-hmm.
F.
So it sounds like she's either been persuaded to change her mind or maybe forced into changing her mind about finding out more.
Possibly. Or whoever she was talking to has found out and demanded they come see her. I mean, whatever way, something's going on.
Ferrous, clarification, where did Tallithsyr and Sidani, or where were they when they saw her?
So let me show you the map.
Map.
The village of Rosenlot.
Oh, jeez, that's way farther than I thought it was. Okay. Oh.
And where did they run into Llewellyn?
All the way over here.
Okay.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I mean, she is heading east, it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the question is, we should definitely let the others know, but the question is, is this something that we want to pursue right now?
Well, it's definitely on my agenda.
course. I mean, considering who she was selling to,
Yeah, it's still
it
of
is
interest to
definitely
us.
related to our own dilemma that we're dealing with.
Plus, if she's getting her hand on more of those things to sell to him, that's not good.
Thank you, Sidani, for coming to let me know.
That's okay. I figured I might as well ask some questions, and whilst it isn't much, I thought maybe you might be able to get more out of it. I guess you have.
No, this is mildly concerning, but definitely useful to know.
With ears like that, you'll go far.
She sort of smiles and
Certainly.
says, "It's keeping an eye on things is one of my strong suits."
Both of you have done very well to pick up on this and make connections even after the fact. Really.
Sidani offers you a short salute, and Tallithsyr sort of, as a Dragonborn, you're more attuned to it than the others, but she basically does the Dragonborn equivalent of blushing slightly.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
she
I
is a
love
pure
Elizabeth so
bean.
Yep,
I love her so much.
she's so good. Yeah, Elizabeth would probably say. I mean, if I'd only saying it, I'd be pinning medals to both of you.
Sidani chuckles and sort of says, "Yeah, that seems a little extreme."
Yeah, okay.
Well, if I still had the authority to, I would also.
Maybe I'll ask him for a pay rise.
Well, he certainly has the money for it.
Yeah, right. I mean, if
Yeah,
you
it's-
succeed with that, that is a medal to earn on its own. So
Yeah, getting him to part with it is the hard part.
Mhm.
I mean, if you want help, and Elizabeth just sort of like gesture to herself slightly.
It's fine, I was kidding.
Ah, fair enough.
Well, since you're here anyway, you're welcome to join. Well, I was sparring with Lithari, but Tallithsyr was taking a bit of a break if you two want to go at it.
I'm good. I'm technically supposed to be on leave. I'm not even really
right.
supposed to be here, but hey.
Well, Tallithsyr, if you're bored,
Tallithsyr sort of looks at you and says, "Well, I'm kind of watching, but shoot."
well, I was gonna say we could spar as well, but it's
Sure.
get myself a staff.
Okay. So, yeah, Sidani takes a leave. You and Tallithsyr do some sparring. Tallithsyr's style is a lot more intense than Sidani's. She's not
Yep.
she's not a teacher.
No, yeah.
She just kind of beats you up, and you kind of maybe like learn some things from it.
Lithari is
Yeah.
probably giving.
I mean, if
Elizabeth
anything, Elizabeth is improving reaction times by
Yeah.
trying to block it constantly. Because Elizabeth's happy to be on the defensive the whole time.
Yeah, Lithari's probably
She's a
giving.
naturally defensive person.
Lithari's probably giving Elizabeth pointers by, like, in how to be more aggressive by saying just while she's sparring with Kelariis, it's just like looking
Yep.
over occasionally and just being like, you should try to be more aggressive like this, so that just like punches Kelariis in the face.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, the thing is as well, like, it's probably very, very apparent that a quarterstaff is a weapon that relies on her strength. She doesn't have a lot of that.
Yeah.
If she was using a finesse weapon on the other.
Quarterstaff is a good way to learn to block, is the nice
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. She may at some point get frustrated and just grab like a little wooden dagger.
Yeah.
Just be like, fuck it, I'm slightly better with this.
Yeah, it's probably immediately after you block Tallithsyr's overhead swing, and then Tallithsyr just grabs the stick and just pulls you and the stick to the ground. Just boff.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think Kalariis' method of
big strong.
instruction is less like correcting in the middle of fighting and more just calling out the things that she sees the Seer doing well,
Yeah.
and then talking to her after to be like, okay, here's some things. Here's some other things to think
Yeah.
about.
So essentially, we've got Kelariis being like, "You're doing great," and then Lithari's trying to like backseat fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've said it before to Lithari that Thalithsyr's style is very similar to Kelariis's,
Yeah.
and isn't exactly like very refined in the whole footwork and positioning, but is made up with just raw aggression.
Yeah. I do find it really amusing though, the idea of just Elizabeth gets out a tiny dagger and you think, oh, this is gonna go even worse, and then she does better. She stops focusing on trying to block and just gets out of the way, probably.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, I can duck this. Why am I trying to block it? Woomph. Sparring is hard.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So with that little scene aside, I think if nobody else has anything else that they want to do, we will fast forward to the morning of the first day of the Festival of Blossoms.
Wait, hold on. Do we actually want to do? Jay, do you actually want to do like a rematch?
Oh God. I I mean, we could, but I can't imagine that will go well for Kelariis. But we could. I don't know if other people want to.
Yeah, it's mostly just if we just want to spend time on it.
Well, I was just going to suggest that if we fast forward to the first day of the Festival of First Blossoms, we can take a short break, and if you want to roll it out in the break, then feel free.
Okay.